Good afternoon. I have the great fortune in life of having my passion be educating collegians. And the great thing about this passion is it's married with this innate belief that I can't seem to shake. And that is that I believe we can learn as much from our students as they can learn from us. But the issue is, what do these people know? Do we really want to learn these things? So let's see. 20 years old, plus or minus 2 years, we can learn how to drink beer. We can learn how to watch sports. We can learn how to take withdrawals from the bank of mom and dad. We can, this is getting difficult. However, they do one thing that becomes salient to my story, and that is they watch TV news. And one day, a collegiate senior who looks amazingly like the many, many seniors I see milling about Hearn Plaza and milling about Manchester, decided that he was going to watch TV news, and it changed his perspective. What he saw in the news that night was the Sago mine disaster. For those of you who are not aware of it, the Sago mine disaster was a disaster in West Virginia in 2006 that entombed 13 men underground, 12 of whom perished after several hours of being trapped. One barely survived. It had international coverage. The school I was working at the time, Virginia Military, is in that neck of the woods, and so this collegian thought, I am going to change the world. No, he didn't. He thought, oh my God, I've got a senior design project that I have got to get done, and well, this seems like a good idea. Very pragmatic, these people who need to graduate. So he comes and he says, I'm going to pitch this to my advisors. So innocent. In fact, the Spanish have a great word for this, inocente, which means kind of innocently frank. And he came to his advisors, my colleagues, Jim and Jay, and he said, this is what I want to work on. What do you think? So here you have an undergraduate electrical engineering major at a small school, no research funding, no experience in mining, no experience in mine engineering, and no experience in industrial engineering, going to two advisors in the exact same camp. And guess what they do? They decided to do it. I know. And they do. A supposedly intractable problem, unsolvable, they solve. And what they do is they develop this device, a theory that had long ago been put away because we didn't have the computing power. Fast forward to 2007, we do, and they place, as you can see in this really simplified graphic, you are a person who is entombed underground. You're yellow. And you're going to have a transmitter that is pounding against the ceiling, transmitting these extra low frequency waves that are then going to travel through the rock topside to tell people where you are. Now, we are really excited about this because it supplants the state of the art. The state of the art when you were entombed in the ground prior to our device was taking a sledgehammer or any other implement you had and banging on the side of the wall and hope to the Lord that someone heard you before you ran out of air and died there. I'm very glad that is not state of the art anymore. However, what happens to every great senior design project when it's over? Come on, professors, you know the answer to this. It goes on your shelf. It goes in your drawer. You're like, phew, got that group out, got to get ready for next semester, or woo, it's the summer, ready to go. We're as bad as the students, will tell you, or at least I am. I don't know about the rest of you. And so it was a cool engineering problem. They solved it. They're engineers, and they put it away. And they're like, that's great. Well, it so happened that a couple of months later, Jim and I crossed each other's path in a faculty meeting. Now, faculty meetings are not world-renowned for their innovation or creativity, I dare say. However, I was a young and energetic, now I'm old and energetic, that's okay, young and energetic assistant professor, and I said, hey, Jim, I am starting this new entrepreneurship class. Do you have any products that you've developed or anything that I could give to my students to use as business cases? He goes, no. I said, are you sure? He goes, well, I mean, there's some things on my shelf, and he started describing them, and I said, well, can I come to your lab and look? Undergraduate in physics, decided I wanted to make money at some point, so went to business. I always go to the dark side. It's a character flaw. Anyway, so I figured I knew enough engineering that I could listen to Jim and see if there was anything that we could commercially develop. Sure enough, I go into his lab, and he starts explaining the ELF device to me. And I can see that Jim has turned into an innocente. To which the question that a junior untenured faculty should never ask a tenured senior faculty, if this is such a revolutionary device, why is it sitting on your shelf? To which he responds, I don't know what to do with it. And now faculty never say they don't know something, but Jim is a different cat. So I said, yeah. I said, well, I think I do. I mean, 100% of the shots you don't take won't go in, right? What the heck? So I took it off of his shelf, and there were 4 or 5 other things off his shelf that I've worked on since this. But I had a group of undergraduates take hold of it and make a business case for it. Well, things were going slow, commercialization is miserable. Well, I wasn't having it, because another word I don't like is no. I tend not to hear it. That frequency doesn't resonate in my middle ear much. And I understand it's a lifelong problem. And so I call up BLIND, the Mine Health and Safety Organization, who's responsible for such devices, and I said, you have got to meet with us. We have got the device that you need. Congress passed a law, said every mine in the country has to have it, and we invented it. The lady must have thought I made a good pitch, or at least I wasn't calling from a prison or a gulag, so what the heck? And she granted us a meeting. So we go and we drive up there and we demonstrate our device and we take video, and they were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. That day, they called a production mine partner. People come and test this device. Well, I don't go into mines. A lot of reasons. I don't know. They're about 18 inches high, and you've got to lay on your back, and lots of dust, and God bless people who work in those. But I wasn't. I was like, I'll just do the computer stuff topside. So I had the computer. I had the green box receiver, and my 2 colleagues were underground with a group of miners and an MSHA person, and they turned it on, and it worked. We could tell the number and air quality of the men that were underground by the signal they were sending to us. What was most amazing was that because we needed a borehole, the borehole we would never have otherwise, but we needed it to make sure that we had measured the depth correctly. And this borehole then was right down to where the miners were, but the seismic energy you can't hear, so it didn't interrupt our tests. You could hear the of the mine coming up through the rolling thunder is what it was, because they were like over 1,000 feet down. You could hear the claps and cheers rolling up through this borehole to the top. And it resounded through me. I thought, oh my God, I am a sellout business professor and I can save a life. Holy crap, this is great. My engineer is still going, well, I think this is wrong and that could be better and this test didn't work right. And I hit him on the head. And I said, son, do you think that when Alexander Graham Bell's assistant said you made a telephone call that he sat there and talked about all the engineering things that were wrong? Engineer responds, well, I wasn't there, I don't know. So I said, stop now. Well, again, we have the safety people who are interested, but you know, we're a small school. We're not interested in spinning something off. We're not going to IPO. We're not going to be the next Bill Gates. All of our passions in this team are educating collegians. The collegian had actually graduated. But I decided that I still wasn't taking no. I wasn't having it. So I'm afraid to call nobody. I call up the CEO of Strata Safety Products, worldwide leader in mine safety devices. He said, I send him a technical white paper, tell him who we are. He says, your idea sounds great. An hour later, this was on a Sunday night, I get a response from his CTO, and he says, let's make arrangements. I'll be at your lab at the end of the week. Lexington, Virginia. That would be middle of nowhere. The CTO's going. He goes, is there an airport to fly in? I said, I'll drive you and pick you up. We get him there. He sees the device. He's at work. And he said, I got to tell you guys something. I just came from a demonstration at Lockheed Martin, who was demonstrating to us the same technology that they spent $6 million on. And it failed. Jim and Jay and I were sitting there looking, we call it professor face, when you don't want to say anything, but you want to demonstrate the air that you know what you're talking about. Because none of us wanted to mention that we had made this and another prototype for less than $15,000. We had changed the world for less than what most of your cars cost. Some of y'all's cars cost twice that, but I'm just saying. So, college cars are very different than my day. So, the issue is that's great. And you think, you know, if the Innocentes had just started there and stopped, we'd have a tremendous story. But this innocence, this belief in the light, children, that girl said it before, but some adults are infected with this problem too. It caught on. Richard Hammond, some of you may know, is the presenter on the BBC. He does Miracles of Nature in a show called Top Gear. Richard Hammond saw our device being used when a colleague of his was going to demonstrate our product as part of a special. And he said, you know, I need that device. I have this great idea. And he calls a friend of his who happens to be Dr. Evans. He goes, we need to go to Botswana. Okay, well, have you ever had a conversation with someone where you were on channel 6 and they were on channel like 2006? Okay, so I have a mining device, Botswana and elephants. Excuse me? All right, I mean, I'm a smart person. Again, my professor face came back. Oh, that sounds great. Let's talk about it some more. Well, Jim and Jay realized and discussed with this elephant researcher that this device could be used to herd elephants. And let me tell you why this is such a problem. Botswana is an amazingly poor country. And the problem they have with elephants is crop raiding. Crop raiding is when big, like massive elephants come and eat all the food that you're growing for humans to eat. It's a problem because then your people starve. And it also causes a lot of animus toward these elephants, and then people shoot them. So you've got this thing that eats your food and makes your life miserable, or you can shoot it and sell its tusks for money. Which would you pick? I can tell you what I'd pick. Shoot the thing. All right? But Botswana really can't do that because they also have elephants for tourism and native heritage, and that's a lot to clean up if you kill elephants like that. So what they did was they put up electric fence. They spent millions and millions of dollars on electric fence. I want you folks to think about this. What do you think electric fence is going to do to a 2,000-pound animal? Yeah, that's right, nothing. And the tusks are not conductors of energy, so the tusks, they just take them and pull up the fence and keep going. That's totally awesome. We've just spent millions of dollars and these things have just decided to do this and walk and eat our crops anyway. Wow. Miss Evans, who's very worried that her elephants are going to be killed because of this, Dr. Evans decides that she wants to try our device. If you turn our device upside down and put it on the ground, it will make extremely low frequency waves that travel through the earth. Elephants are so heavy that when they walk, and you know this if you've ever heard your children run up and down the stairs, they make so much sound that the sound propagates, and you know who's coming. Well, elephants do this too, except they're so heavy, the wave frequencies are so long that it travels over tens, almost can be up to hundreds of miles. So you know that Johnny's coming from 10 miles away, literally. Well, what we wanted to do was see if we could dial up the frequency that would make these elephants come to a particular place, particularly the young males, who are the hungriest and most difficult to deal with. Some things are so cross-species. Anyway, so, am I kidding? No. All right, now, so what we do is we decide, and Dr. Evans helps, of course Dr. Evans does this, she and Richard Hammond go out into Botswana, and they put out, and they dial up the frequency of an available female. These three, yes, an available female has a frequency that's different than others. And we've seen that too. I mean, think about your human experience. Anyway, and so these elephants started 10 miles away at a stream. And after a while, all three of them came to find the available female. At that point, Richard Hammond and Dr. Evans were like, this really isn't going to be the place to be when that elephant tried. And I really say as I blame them. But isn't that amazing? So now I've listened to this innocente who just wants to graduate, comes up with a mine safety device that can save the entombed man under the earth. That then another innocente comes up with and decides can solve a tremendous conservation and environmental problem in a country that could actually afford these that cost about $5,000 made in that particular way. That's amazing. Why did we listen? I don't know. I really don't, but I have conjecture. And my conjecture is this. I quote from the incomparable Jim Henson, and I'm worried that some of you younger people don't know who he is, because y'all are really young. They were born in like 97. God, what? Jim Henson was the founder of the Muppets, and he said, the very most sophisticated people I know, inside they are all children. And it's my hope today that based on my talk, may you always recognize the inborn innocence of creativity as it passes by you every day. Thank you very much.